All right, we'll start in about a minute or so.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the February ESCR CAG meeting. I hope people are doing well. As always, I'm going to pass it over to Desiree. Hi, Desiree.
Hi, thank you. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Okay. Oops. Hold on one second. All right, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Desiree Gazzo. I am here with HNTV Lero, the Program Management, Construction Management JV for Eastside Coastal Resiliency Project Area 1 and 2. We are here today for meeting number 30 for the CAG group to talk about ESCR Project Area 1, Project Area 2, and parallel conveyance. So I will start the presentation. So as we know, this is the project area overview. The focus areas today will cover just about everything. And we're actually going to start with a quick hiring compliance update from the last meeting. We did not include the hires by zip code. So I have, I think, Stephen or Trang, who is going to talk to the slide briefly.
Yes, so Stephen is here. Steve, thank you. So what you are seeing here, yes, it is an amendment to the information we shared last month. This information is representative of the full project, as you see at the top, project area 1 and 2 of all the hires across New York City and outside of New York City. And this is as of December 22, the breakdown of, where folks reside, folks who are working on the project reside. I'm available if you have any questions on this slide.
Are there any questions? Wendy?
Yeah, hi. So is then the total for Manhattan, is that about 5% of all the staff for both project areas?
Correct.
Am I reading that wrong?
Correct.
So
how many is total across? Yes.
How many is that altogether? People is that altogether?
So we have reviewed a total of about 1,300 records.
And 5% of that is like 60 people, 65 people or so?
It's between, let's see, the numbers exactly, and this is both existing and new hires. It's about, I'm looking at the numbers here. It's about 40 people. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's so interesting to see that, because of course local jobs were part of the goal here. I see Long Island and New Jersey are doing great. is there any training programs? I know you're hosting fairs to help people get their resumes, but actual training
Yes.
programs.
Correct. So we do not host training programs ourselves, but we are working with Small Business Services of New York City and referring, whoever it is that we interact with, if they do need training, specifically as it relates to construction. We have made recommendations for them to visit Workforce One centers. As Trang mentioned in past presentations, and we have mentioned in past presentations, the bulk of the existing staff, a lot of the staff who are working on the project are existing staff, excuse me. And so, in order to increase our local hiring, we are making every effort to do so, with connecting folks with local opportunities and training programs if necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Susan, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I was just curious in terms of the very high numbers, Long Island, New Jersey, and other, whether that was because of lack of candidates locally or lack of qualified candidates locally.
It's a combination of both. Again, the bulk of the staff are existing. So, what you see on the left column is representative of, the employers who are coming in with existing staff. And then the local hires that, the hires that we have shared, a lot of them are, through the general contractors as well as subs. A lot of the hires do come through the unions. The majority of the jobs are unionized. So I would say 90%, if not more, are through the unions.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any other questions.
Oh. Great. I'm going to move forward then. Thank you, Stephen. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Sticking with the hiring compliance, we did want to again remind everybody of the Work With Us quarterly session. It is next week, Tuesday, February 28th from 5 to 6 p.m. It is a virtual event. We do hope that everybody could join us. Again, the participants that we will have will be Workforce One, the Girls Club. Stephen, can you remind me who else is going to be with us? Henry Street Settlement and Lesson. Who did I miss?
And also Nigeria.
And Nigeria.
Yes. Yep. We were connected with a local coordinator who's assisting with marketing as well as sharing information, training programs, etc.
Great. Thank you so much. So again, please, if you could reach out to your networks of people. We have been posting the flyers on the site in Parks buildings. We've shared them with NYCHA TAs and again, local residents. It's been blasted several times to the mailing list that we have. DDC has blasted it as well. So, if you can push this forward, thank you. And I think Wendy has a hand raised.
Yeah, I'm, you've been doing these workshops, Work With Us workshops, maybe for a year and a half now.
Mhm.
Maybe it's not working. Maybe it's not actually making the numbers, making it possible so people in the community can get a job there. And maybe, is there any plan to revisit how you're doing this, given the amount of work going on all over the city and that will be continuing to go on, that people, if they were trained and got involved here, might be able to continue to do as a career?
Yeah, well, Wendy, I think it's these workshops aren't just helping folks get jobs on the ESCR project. It's helping to connect people to the resources that are available through the city, that they can get jobs on this and on other projects that are happening in the city, because the resources that we're able to connect folks to, again, they are scouting people for jobs all over the place. Stephen, I know you took your mute off. I didn't know if you wanted to add to that.
No, I was going to echo pretty much what
Okay.
you mentioned, and and Wendy, a part of why we are we are taking a different approach to these events, and in this case, that's why we included Workforce One to be the feature presenter. As you know, the Workforce One system has training services, as well as can help candidates find jobs, not only within the construction industry, but out as well. So this is a part, a different approach that we're taking with these events.
And we are looking to have more in-person events. Again, it has been hard with COVID the past 2 years to have in-person events. Again, we had our first in the fall, and we are going to look to have another in-person event in the spring, more of, again, kind of a way to connect people in person with the contractors there, etc. And then probably a virtual one over the summer, and then another in-person in the fall. So I think every little bit that we can and try to do helps. We have tried to get union participation. Again, like Stephen said, that's where really the majority of the people on this project are given, are sent to us from the unions. So we are, and DDC is helping too, to try and get, more union support there as well. So these are the, efforts we can make. If anyone has any suggestions, again, we do have the, there's a the kind of an inquiry or a comment tool on the ESCR Work With Us page. You can certainly send them over there, or through Paula or Tara.
Can I just suggest bumping up the text about Workforce One so it's more visible? I mean, if this is where people can get training, maybe that could be emphasized. I noticed their logo on the bottom line is so light, you can hardly read it. And people might benefit from understanding there's a program that's not just fix your resume, but also get trained.
Sure, we could work on bumping that up in the.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, great. I'm going to continue because we do have a lot to cover today. So we'll move forward with project area overview on the 3 projects. Honestly, not much on here has changed since last month. The projects are really moving forward with the operations that they currently have ongoing. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next couple of slides, but generally the work areas have not changed. We're going to start with PA2 construction progress. So this is the schedule that we have been showing. And as many of you are aware, Sty Cove Park, the northern portion, we have been providing updates on that. And that is now been, again, pushed a bit. And we'll talk about that. I have a slide that's coming up. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But we are still on track for Stuyvesant Cove Park South to open in the beginning of January. And then again, Murphy Brothers will be the last portion to open of the 3 parks. So this is a new image that we thought we'd include in the presentations. These are the swing gates and roller gates and the flood wall. It has been shown in other presentations, but I think it's really helpful as we're really ramping up this year with the installation of quite a few gates. So as you could see, gate number 18 and 14, those are the ones with the black text. Those have been installed. They were installed last year. And then we're anticipating that this year, gates 9 through 13, so the ones here at the southern portion of the site, and then 15, 16, and 17 at the northern portion, that they are all going to be installed or delivered and installed as well during this year. So it's going to be a really big year for Project Area 2 as far as getting the that flood protection moving and going, and much of this wall is installed, and they're rapidly completing the sections down in the southern end as well. I'm going to go through PA2 and then we'll take questions. So for Project Area 2, again, we had the Stuyvesant Cove Park split into 2 sections, and this is what I was kind of talking about just a slide or 2 back. So the anticipated opening date for portion 1, which is north of East 20th, is now spring of 2023. So we are waiting for the guardrail installation. In the beginning, there was a bit of a material delay, and now the guardrail needs to be installed before that part north can open up. We have been in close coordination with EDC and Solar One as we move forward. That is the only outstanding item that has to be installed for this area. And again, that's the guardrail between kind of the landscaped areas and the path. And really, we have all come to the conclusion that it is best to reopen the area at full completion instead of opening sections and then having to go back and reinstall portions of the guardrail. So that date is pushed till spring of 2023. So in the next couple of months that will open. And then, as I mentioned, the area south is scheduled to reopen in early 2024. And we have some progress photos of that. The current greenway access, as we've been talking about, is currently closed south of East 20th Street to about East 14th or East 12th Street, right to the end of the pinch point. That happened, I believe, last week. And then there was a question, I think, at the last CAG meeting about when that will reopen. So we're anticipating that reopening in early summer of 2023. So again, a couple of months, and then that access will reopen again. A few construction photos for PA2. The photo to the right is the Greenway curb installation south of East 20th Street. So that's, again, they're moving along, and you could see the completed sections of the wall again south of 20th Street. And then on the right is the Stuyvesant Cove Park South restoration. So they're really making progress with installing the seat wall and the pavement there. And then, they will need to do, again, the planting and the CRL and the other steps to finalize that lower part. But again, they are making substantial progress with that. So I see hands raised for PA2. So we'll just take the questions for PA2 and then we'll move on to PA1.
Martin?
Yeah, I'd say it was in August or so, it was indicated that the park could be opened in October or November. And Solar One, I'm sure Dina will add to that, indicated that they would prefer that it stay closed until the plantings were put in during the fall period, so that come spring it would be ready. But obviously, if the railings were not installed, then it couldn't have been open in October, November, even if Solar One didn't ask for it to be held off. And you indicated more gates and whatever that needs to be installed. How can there be how can that construction go on while the park is open?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. So the gates are outside of the park. So the installation of the gates, and their installation is one day they come in, they bring in the gate, and then it's installed. The main work for the gates that really takes a lot of time is the foundations, and that's what they're working on now. So once the gates are ready to be installed, again, as they were for the other two gates, 18 and 14. They were really just popped in place in a day and ready to go. So that doesn't really impede, the work on the inside of the park or in Stuyvesant Cove Park. And then the opening, again, there were lots of conversations between October and here, coordination with again, EDC, Solar One, and GDC. And right at that time, a portion of the park was going to be open. And now, again, that we've come so far, the decision has been made to wait until the park is fully completed to then be able to turn it over completely to EDC and Solar One.
When you say completely, you're now talking about the south side as well? So that the park won't be used until spring of 24 now?
The north side,
Oh, the north
north of East 20th Street. Yes. Once there are two, one of the issues again from the fall was that there would only be one means of egress and access. So once the work is done, once the rails are finished, and then now the work is done at 20th Street, there will now be egress and two points of egress and access.
Are
So
the rails on hand or they still need to be supplied?
Excuse me?
Is the railing on hand or they still need to be supplied?
No, they're still waiting for it. It's my understanding that they're still waiting for new railing.
So it's plausible that it could be the summer or fall when it's actually available.
Right. So I have been told that it will reopen in the spring.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Dina?
Thanks. Yeah, but it may not reopen in the spring for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that the railings that Desiree is referring to do not include gates, which means it's very difficult to get access to those beds. And that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem for volunteer groups. It's going to be a problem for students, and it's going to be a problem for staff who have to weed and water in those beds. There are a lot of people that work in the park that can't climb over those railings. So EDC is going to ask DDC Design for a change order to get gates installed, and also to get a gate installed at the beach so that there can be water access at the cove, which is something that the Land Use and Waterfront Committee at CB6 just wrote a resolution letter asking for. On top of that, the Solar 2 building is now in the construction document phase, and we're hoping that construction on the building is going to start in August. That's the schedule for that, and it's kind of critical that the construction happen on time, because in order to complete that project, the landscaping around the building needs to be done by the ESCR team before they leave the area and finish all the work that they're doing in Project Area 2, which is supposed to happen at the end of 2024. And in order to more easily construct on the blacktop, it's possible that that north egress to 23rd Street is going to have to be closed again. This is something that's currently being discussed by EDC and the construction manager on the building construction. But the upshot of all of this is that if a change order has to go through, if the pipe rail construction gets slowed down, if the construction begins on the blacktop and there's no egress to 23rd Street, I mean, the main issue has always been for Solar One, not the planting, but the fact that having only a point of egress, whether it's only at 23rd Street or only at 20th Street, now that there's a wall, creates a really unsafe condition for people in the park. So it's possible that there will be limited access in the park, because once the park construction is done, even if there's construction on the blacktop, we will be able to have volunteers, we will be able to have school groups, we will be able to have field trips, but we would really like to prevent there being public access as long as there's a cul-de-sac, because in the first phase of construction at Project Area 2, that happened. There was construction fencing, in the first, quarter of the park going up to the blacktop, and it caused a lot of issues. And that was before the wall was there. People were still going over the fence to the bike path when the construction team wasn't there to scare them off. Now they can't do that. Anybody that would go into the park would be trapped between the construction fencing, the seawall, and the flood wall. And we just don't want to create that condition. So it is possible that the park will remain mostly closed to the public until the entire park is done. But it is not means a done deal. I'm going to bring this up with the Land Use and Waterfront Committee at their meeting next Monday night. But I just wanted to let everybody know not to get their hopes up that this is going to
So
get
you're
done.
saying we shouldn't plan our concert series?
I don't think there's any way that we're going to be able to do that this summer, unfortunately.
Diane, did you want to say something?
I have a question. If Dina, are you finished?
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
I thought you were finished. Okay, cool.
Okay. Hi, Desiree. Can you repeat again how long you expect the pinch point to be closed?
Yeah, so the pinch point, and sorry, just to, I think just to speak to, what Dina had mentioned, I think there are a lot of conversations happening with DDC and EDC. And, again, the schedule of the Solar 2 building, is on a track. And so we are providing you with the information that we have right now. There's, again, lots of conversations that are happening. And we bring, the information as we have it. So I did thank you, Gina, for providing that update. So I just wanted to, mention that. So Diane, the pinch point, sorry, going the wrong way. The pinch point should be open around, early summer 2023.
Okay, great. Thank you. Because we're getting a lot of questions about when that's going to happen. But stay on this slide, please, because I have follow-up questions. So I've had a couple of people reach out to us about where bikes are able to travel safely on this map. Up until this closure, we weren't really showing 10th Street as, prominently. And so I don't know if you've walked 10th Street, but there are a number of construction projects on 10th Street, not just the sewer work down by the FDR, but there's a private building going up. There's a school building that's being auctioned, and the city is there, securing the property. And so I've gotten some questions about is the city recommending that cyclists use East 10th Street to get in and out of the park? And if so, are they aware that we have construction blockages on 10th Street, particularly between B and C, and then again between D and the river?
Yeah, we could bring that up. You're correct. I mean, we even have construction, on East 10th Street there. I think it is the easiest way, or the closest way out and in, right, to the park, to not have people go further. But if there is a lot of construction happening on East 10th, you're right, we might need to look and move that south to accommodate, those construction activities. So we'll take a look at that. And we'll talk to DOT about that as well and see if we need to revise this. Thanks for bringing that up.
Sure. We also got a question about why Avenue C is not marked as potential cycling route, because the bike lanes on Avenue C are actually an ESCR mitigation. And so you might want to ask about that as well.
Sure, I think right now it's basically when you take Avenue C until the lower part of the greenway opens. Sorry, here. When that part of the greenway opens, then the connection can be made to Avenue C. Until the lower part of the greenway opens, there is not a safe connection from East 20th Greenway to Avenue C. So again, once the greenway opens here, then that will open up Avenue C as an alternative for the detour.
I see. Okay.
But to get from where the greenway ends to where the greenway or to the park, again, if you're going to the park, then you would go there. If you're just getting back to where you can pick up the greenway again, then you have to take First and Second Avenue. But 10th Street is the first place that you can go to get back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Definitely right. Avenue C was, created as part of that detour. And then as soon as that lower part opens, then we could put that as a way to get forward. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, Paula, I don't see any other hands unless you do.
I
Okay.
do not.
All right, great. So we're going to move on to PA1 construction progress. So this is the illustrative schedule that we've been using. We do have the link to the construction timeline. I think we're going to try to present that here in March and maybe do a quarterly update of that. So stick on the quarters. For now, we have the illustrative here. Again, everything is on schedule to progress as we've been speaking to. There was a request to put the available open space for PA1 in the CAG presentation. So we do have that here. So there is, again, 52% available open space currently. For the construction activities, many of the construction activities are ongoing. Again, we're in the middle of a lot of things right now that need a lot of time to be completed. So those are still ongoing. The ball fields 3, the work has been completed there. So now we are, the restoration of that area is in progress. So we're hoping within by next month, maybe by mid-month, the blue temporary walkway will be lifted, and then we will be able to resume the detour that was in place along the construction fencing. So we're looking to, again, move forward with that. A new activity within the closed area is the Parks O&M building retaining wall. So the contractors will start preparing that area for building the retaining wall that goes around the Parks O&M building. I could bring in, actually, I should have included a rendering with that. I'll bring in a rendering of that building in that area at the next CAD. So we could look at that. Again, I think it's just the retaining wall that's going to be moving forward, but again, it's good to see the renderings to familiarize ourselves with what the park is going to look like. Otherwise, much of the other construction activities are on a path forward. There was a question at the last meeting about the Delancey Street pedestrian bridge. So I did include this. It's from the PDC final presentation, slides 40 through 47. The link is here. It's also on the website on the project elements page. The preliminary and the final presentations are there. So the question, I believe, from last time was, where are those piers going to drop on the sidewalk? And the red circles here indicate where the bridge piers are. So you will be able to walk under the pedestrian bridge to, access the sidewalk here. And then this is a rendering. Again, it doesn't include this side of the bridge, but this is the rendering again of the bridge and the touchdown point on the park side. So I know that was a question, and my apologies for not sending it over sooner than the next meeting. A couple of construction photos. We have the sewer chambers, again, making really great progress within the park. And then this is one of the images of the combi wall. Again, it's made of the two different types of pile, which is like a combination wall. So that's why it's called a combi wall there. So then that is moving forward as well. Archaeology in Corlears Hook Park. This is the sign that we have out there right now. Again, we've been coordinating with the archaeologists, and then once that work is completed, we will have a bit of a more, a sign that actually talks about the full findings of what they have there. So we've been coordinating with, some of the stakeholders here to put this sign together. And I hope it's helpful for people who are, again, wanting more information. And then we'll keep providing updates as we go along. The status is still the same from last month, and we did try to get an expected duration for this, and I don't have an update on that. But when I do find out, I will, again, if it's before the next CAG meeting, I'll let Paula and Tara know. And if not, then we have the CB3 meeting and then the next CAG meeting. So there is another meeting in between, and hopefully we can get a better idea at one of those meetings. We'll jump into, since we're kind of short on time, I'm going to just keep going and then we'll take questions at the end. So I'm going to, the parallel conveyance project status. This slide we went over at the last meeting. Again, the current activities are internal submittal review, site survey, test pits and mobilization and staging of equipment areas. Excuse me. Again, as mentioned, the lower portion of parallel conveyance is where the construction activities will occur first. So in the bulletins, you will see some site survey activities that are happening up in the northern portion by Avenue C, but that work is not expected to happen soon. It is the lower portion of the park where the work will begin. So for construction progress, and here we have the numbers, the areas labeled, and this is how we're going to try to really push the project information is by, each kind of location of where parallel conveyance is. So at location 1, Jackson and Water Street, we've had mobilization and storage of equipment, test pit operations and installations of the tree guards have been completed. And then at locations 2, 3, and 4, again, the contractor is moving forward with the project area survey, installation of more tree guards and test pit operations. And then at Avenue 5, again, as mentioned, it's really just the project area survey and pre-construction building inspections. And then the test pit operations are really key in helping to determine, the next steps for the construction of the project, because again, they help identify the utilities that are in the area. So this is a new slide, the typical construction sequencing. So again, to help us look ahead to what is coming up at each of these locations, we have this, we've had this for project area 1 and project area 2 as well. Again, it's the typical construction sequencing. So we have 2 types of locations here in red, this red color, which is coordinated in the map here. Those are the locations without the tide gate chamber buildings. So for those areas, again, you'll have the mobilization and protection, which is ongoing, as well as the test pits and site survey. And then the next step is the utility relocation and upgrades. And that needs to happen before the parallel conveyance sewer lines are installed. And then the last step is final restoration. And similarly, for the locations with the tie gate chamber buildings, again, we have a similar approach. However, then we have the excavation and the installation of the tide gate chambers. So this is again, while we're, waiting to get a better kind of schedule look ahead, we're providing the typical construction sequencing as just a way to, again, kind of outline the steps of the parallel conveyance program. So for a few construction photos, again, right now we're just in this early stage. So it's a lot of the tree guards, the staging areas, and then some of the steel pits from the test pits. And again, for parallel conveyance resources, since this is a newer project, Tanya is the community construction liaison for parallel conveyance. She has been out again with helping with the building surveys and posting signage that we've had in the area, again, for parking restrictions, et cetera, due to the test pits in the area. And then we have the same, parallel conveyance has the same inquiry tool as ESCR, PA1 and PA2. And then just environmental reporting for PA1. This is for the January update. We did do December at the last CAG meeting. So there were just a few exceedances at the Montgomery Street and Jackson Street location, one Jackson Street to Williamsburg, and then the Williamsburg Bridge to the northern project limits, and we'll show you the map on the next slide. Again, due to the construction activities that were occurring in the month of January, there were several occasions where there was a bit of a spike with the air monitors due to dust and idling construction vehicles. So again, the dust suppression techniques were applied, and the trucks, relocated or again asked to stop idling. But there were, again, several there. Again, most were about 15 minutes. And then there were just two instances where they were a bit longer. The PM daily value or 24-hour TWA did not surpass the PEL for the month of January. And our team is again working with the contractor, on how to minimize this, even more back to the previous months. It's been very low. So again, January, we just had a couple more exceedances. And then these are the monitoring locations. So really, this northern part where we have a lot of the construction work happening is where that happened. Those occurred. So for December and January for project area 2, last month we did not have the December numbers, so we are combining December and January here. For the month of December, there were a couple of small, few exceedances here on the left-hand side. And then towards the end of December, so about the last week or so of December and the first week of January, there were multiple kind of consistent PM 2.5 exceedances. The contractor and the environmental folks did investigate the exceedances. And again, they were, during construction and outside of construction hours. And, there weren't any, visible, dust and things like that. The contractor did continue to implement dust control measures. And again, the machines were checked, et cetera. And, new filters added and things like that. And actually it was really just one location. So there weren't any net exceedances during this time. It was just one monitor that was experiencing this. So the team did say it may have been to kind of, because it was colder this month. So the Con Ed steam from the cold weather, condensation within the monitors. But the team, was really, again, focusing on this, and there wasn't really a kind of a known observation for why this machine was again picking this up. It then dropped off after about the first week in January. So that's what we have to report on that. And there still was not the PM daily value, again, did not surpass the PEL for the month of December. And there were no, again, net exceedances. It was just at, one monitor. So I think there are some questions. So thank you for letting me just get through the rest of the presentation. And then we could take questions. I don't know, Paula, whose hand was up first?
I think it was Tony.
Hi, yes. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I have two questions, actually. It relates to Corlears Hook. Do you know why the Corlears ball field has been shut down? We recently received a notice from the Parks Department saying that due to some emergency repairs, the facility will not be available as of March and for the duration of a year. So that caught us by surprise, and we have to do a little bit of scrambling, but I'd love to understand what happened there. It was never intended, as far as I know, to be shut down at all during this process. And then the second question is, if you can give me some insight on the timeline for when the rest of the section 1 would become available. So right now there's ball fields 1 and 2, and I think part of 3 was also impacted. When would those ball fields reopen? Thank you.
Sure. So thank you for that, Tony. I have not been made aware that a notice was issued from the Parks Department, so I will look into that for you. We do coordinate with the Parks Department, but I was not aware that was issued, so I will look into that. I will look into that.
You're
later.
not aware of the repairs that are needed for the area in the ball fields?
No.
Okay.
And then the timeline for the PA1 parks, the ball field 3, again, the restoration for that is happening right now. So that is set to open for the, for the spring ball field season. And then ball fields 1 and 2, I'd have to just go back and check the, actually, does it say in our thing here? In the what do you call it? The phasing, but I think they were set to open towards the end of this year. I could stop my screen share for a second and just take a look while we get other questions.
Sure. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Michael.
I have a bird's eye view of the of that section out of my apartment, so it doesn't feel like it's going to be ready come end of this year, but that would be encouraging to hear.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm gonna while I'm taking other questions, I'll just pop and check the timeline just to make sure.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah. Michael, do you want to ask your question?
Sure. Sorry, I didn't know I was called on. I didn't hear my name.
Sure.
So ball field, we didn't know anything either. So I've texted Jamil to see if he knows anything. So Tony, if I get an answer, I'll let you know. But I wanted to also ask, so thank you for the sign. I have to admit that I have actually, even though I live right across the street, not seen the sign yet because I have not been there. So I will run out and take a look. Can you just tell me when it got put up?
Sure. I believe they were put up at the end of last week. But I will confirm with our staff, but I think they were put up at the end of last week.
Surprised I haven't seen it then. Do you know where it's located? Is it on the entry fence where the trucks go in?
Around that area.
Okay, I'll go take a look later. So my other slightly more controversial question that I'm sure you're probably not going to be able to answer is. So around the archaeological dig, I am still getting a lot of comments from the public that they're hearing from other sources that Indian artifacts are in fact being found, but that the determination is that they don't know if the Indian artifacts are native to that land or if they were dumped there in a previous landfill when nobody cared about Indian artifacts. So is there anything that you can tell us in relation to that?
Yeah, so we have been told that anything that was found is currently being tested and under review. So I personally do not know what exactly was found, but we have been told that it is all being tested and under review. And that is why right now we have like this temporary sign. So that way, then as soon as we find out what is actually there, then we could, update everything and report on that. So as soon as they make a determination of what was found, then that will be the updates that we provide here.
Okay, so you're doing the right due diligence and waiting to know exactly what's there before a public announcement is made.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
No, you're welcome. I'm just glad I had an answer.
I'm glad you did too. I thought I was going to get a runaround.
No, and that's kind of what we, that's the process, so thanks.
Yep.
Frank,
Hey Desiree, how you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. So I was piqued and I think it was for the parallel conveyance, Jackson and Water. Was it your folks that then wrapped around 3 of our trees on Water Street, which is near the intersection of Jackson? I'm only asking because we have so much undergoing construction around the area here with capital improvement projects, and it seemed like that was on your map, but I just wasn't aware that happened. Like who made it rather happen?
Sure. So these, I showed the hold on. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Hold on one second. Resume share. Okay.
Oh, so
okay.
that's just on Jackson then.
Yeah, that's on Jackson. So these were again, that's part of the parallel conveyance program. And then if they were Jackson and Water, again, that is where the parallel conveyance is. So I would imagine I haven't been able to walk each of these, each of the sites, but that is where the tree pits were being installed. So
okay, no, that's helpful. I had thanked a whole different company. That's why I'm asking, because one day the tree guards were up around outside of our buildings, and I thought it was related to, again, a project that we have ongoing, but that's not the case, likely. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of work happening down there.
I'm very well aware from morning to night. Yeah.
Yeah, if they resembled this, then
Yeah, they resemble it exactly, and they didn't
Okay.
come out in the start of our capital improvement project, so that's why I was curious, and nobody corrected me when I gave them props, but now I realize who did it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and again, I will, double confirm that, but I think
Yeah, it's so minor. It's just I now need to like recant my appreciation for another construction company. Okay.
And so just to get back to Tony's question, because I did look again on that, online on our preliminary construction approach, it did have the, ball fields opening. They are, again, scheduled by, the end of the summer or of, this year. So I will bring the question back though.
Okay. I mean, that would mean that all the fill would be in place and I mean, I don't know if anyone's been over there lately. It still seems like there's just a long way to go. Not months, but well over a year. So I'm just, if there's any kind of report that would kind of highlight, how you get to an opening by end of summer, that would be helpful.
Yeah, and I think Diane, you had asked for an update on the open space also. So I think that will be part of our March when we you know, if, when we again go over that Gantt chart as well. So in the March presentation, we'll be able to, you know, I could again bring these that specific question back, especially Tony, and we'll do that. If I have anything earlier than that, I could mention that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Diane?
Hello again. Can we zoom all the way back up to the other end of the park? Back up to the north end of East River Park. So just wanted to ask about the Con Ed work that's happening up there. So the small Con Ed closure, you know, at the very northern tip. And then I think there was also talk of doing additional Con Ed work on the closed section of the Greenway there between Houston and 10th. And so do you have updates on those?
So, and I know that also the CAG sent over a long list of a long list of questions also about Con Ed work. Just, I think it was yesterday or the day before. So we are working on those. And then there were some additional questions that were asked about Envision and a couple of other things. So we're buttoning up those questions as well. So I meant to mention that at the end, but
Okay.
I need to. But Con Ed work for this project in a nutshell will kind of be an ongoing thing. Because there's so many utilities within the project that really almost every operation involves Con Ed, you know, the long and short of it. So, you know, the Houston Street retaining wall work that we had talked about, I think last fall, you know, it is still on this look ahead to, you know, start in 2023. And, you know, that will again involve more utilities. So it's hard to say, you know, there's going to be consistent Con Ed work throughout the project. And that was the answer that I got when I kind of asked that question. So, you know, if it's what specifically it will be, you know, I think when we go through that list of Con Ed questions, maybe we could address that a bit more. But generally, almost at every location of this project, we will be coordinating with Con Ed utilities because there are a significant number of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you could just ask them about that very northern area as well, right next to their dock facility. I think they had told you originally that they were going to reopen that area by the end of 2022 and it's still closed. So what's going on there? What can we expect? If they could speak to that, that would be great.
Yeah. Paula and Tara, did you get an update from Parks? Because I think that you were coordinating, they didn't.
Yeah, they acknowledged receiving the question, but they haven't sent the response yet.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we've deferred Paula and Tara to do with that little piece. But if we do hear anything, we'll definitely again put that forward, and you know, we'll send a reminder that was a question.
Great. Okay, thank you.
I don't know if there's anyone with more questions, but since you have that slide up, the ball field, I believe it's ball field 7, is missing a bench for where the players in the dugouts would sit. It's going to become more important for us going forward as we lost Corliers and we're trying to shift more activities in that area. Is there a way to make a request to have that bench put in?
Yes, I mean, we could, you know, I'll again, anything that comes through Parks for the CAG, we typically send over, or Paula and Tara send over. So we'll definitely make sure that gets to them. And then if we'll also ask if there's another way that they like to route things. I know you can also put in a 311 request because that goes kind of directly to their maintenance crews. I know it seems like kind of a circuitous way to do it, but apparently that's how all of their requests are logged. So I would say we'll send it over, but you might also want to, again, just for extra, you might also want to, you know, send it through 311 as well.
Okay, we'll do that in addition to your trek as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you, Desiree.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. And again, we are working on the other questions that did come in, so we will get those back to you. So thank you very much. And we will be at next month's CB3 meeting as well, the March CB3 meeting. Thank
Hi,
you.
I think I have a correction. I think it's ball field 8, not 7 that has the missing bench. So
Oh, okay.
I just want to correct that point.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Desiree. Okay, everybody. So before we transition to the CAG only conversation, let's take like a 2-minute break and we'll see you back here at 5:06. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Paula.
Hello.
Trying to answer for everybody since we were all so quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for doing that. So yeah, we don't have an agenda, a set agenda. So as we've been doing for the last few meetings, just want to open up the floor to anyone.
Well, I just want to let you know that, I'm going to be signing off in the next like 5 minutes. So if anyone has a question for me, I know I kind of brought some new information to the table that even surprised,
Yeah.
the construction group.
Well, Tony, I don't know if I have your information, but if I hear anything from Jamil, I can let Paula know about the ball field. The only thing that I can think of as to why they might be closing it is that I know that we've been having a lot of issues and a lot of complaints lately about dogs on the ball field, because the people who don't want to use the dog run because they think it's a hard surface and unhealthy for their dogs have pretty much taken over the ball field. And I know that PEP has been issuing a lot of summonses to them. But all I can think of is that might be the reason, that they're trying to discourage the dogs, or maybe they have to replace or repair the AstroTurf because the dogs have destroyed it.
Okay. Yeah, they mentioned emergency repairs. They caught, our permitting folks at parks off guard too. They didn't have a really good answer. It came very last minute. It only came last week, after they've already issued us the permit saying, yeah, you have it. And then they pulled it from us. It impacts OLS. It also impacts downtown Little League. So we're both kind of scrambling at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I hear anything from Paula, if I hear anything from Jamil, I'll let Paula know, and then she can let the rest.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Tony, I just wanted to comment on your questions about when the ball fields are going to reopen, because in the last couple of CAG only sessions, I've been bringing this up. The same thing that you said. All you have to do is look at it, and it doesn't look like something that can be finished in just a few months and reopened for use. Even if they were to defer the planting, just imagining them putting in all the fill and letting it settle and then building on top of it seems like a tall order right now. So we've asked that's why Desiree was commenting that there have been requests to go over the construction schedule in more detail, because it just seems like it's going to be very, very hard to get that done by the end of the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like it's 2 years away, to be quite honest, at least from where I stand.
We had asked them, I think, a long time ago, how long they would need for the fill to settle. And I think at the time they said, well, we can't really tell until we get it in there, and then we have to keep checking it. So I don't even think that we have a clear understanding of how long that part is going to take, and then building on top of it. So I have all the same questions that you have.
I'd be very pleasantly surprised if it was anything remote, at the end of summer, or even before spring of next year. I'd give them those extra 4 or 5 months. I'd still be shocked that it would be completed by then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm glad that we're all pushing for the same info. Well, with that, I think I'm going to bid my farewell, guys. It's great seeing you all. Sorry I haven't been around this much, but I'll try to connect more often.
Bye, Tony. Thanks for joining.
Take care, guys. Bye.
I wonder, is there any update on the study around the FDR?
No, I have not heard yet. But I think I did let you know that I think it was Parks and DOT, or at least one of them, I think they're co-doing the study, are going to come to present to you guys once they're a little farther along in the process.
And, I also want to mention the last 3 months, 2 months did not have reports about ESCR at CB3. So December was off, this month was off. I don't know how people here feel about that, but that's a better time of day for people to find out what's going on, for one, and the public can't ask questions here.
That's just something you should bring up with CB3.
Yeah, I don't think we can, having been on that committee, I can tell you that the way CB3 operates, and Trevor's not here, I don't think, but the chair of the committee is the one that approves the agenda. So if something is not on the agenda, the chair of the committee didn't want it there, or it's possible that the city agency doesn't have an update that's relevant for, to come to the meeting that month. So, but yeah, I mean, I know that when I was on the community board, the sort of the mantra was that we were going to have them come every month regardless because of the nature of this project. But again, I can't speak to the doings there because I'm not on the board anymore, but it is something that should go to Susan Stetzer, the district manager, and or Trevor.
Okay, thank you.
Wendy, I was told that the last month, I guess so for February, that it was not on the agenda specifically because the city said they didn't have an update.
Okay. There's a lot of work going on for no updates, though. Holy cow.
Anybody else? I guess this means we should adjourn.
So moved. I second that.
All right. All right, all. So of course, if you have any questions during the month, please reach out to us and we will, once we get responses on the commitment updates, we'll send those over to you all too.
Thank you.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.